Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe one of each right now, as there's only 3 people watching, but that's okay, because people will tune in. Let me get this overlay out of the way. Hide. Ha! There we are. Hello, one and all. My name is Justin Thomas James, and I'm here again with another cold read of Relevant Jack, Book 6, written by Praximus Venter. If you are signing in on Facebook, if you are signing in on YouTube, we don't have anybody on Twitch right now. No stream on Twitch. I got to figure that out because I'm streaming from my own account because I'm a big boy. I got my own StreamYard account. If you are watching from any of these places, please leave a comment. Say hello. Chat. Go bonkers. Talk about your day. Talk about your morning. How is your morning going? Let us see. Let me look at the chat here. I'm looking at the comments. Not a single comment so far. That's okay. We will get those. El Praximus. There we go. Prax Venter, the author himself, is here in the chat. He's going to be answering any questions that you might have. And yeah, just, if you got questions about the lore of Irrelevant Jack, Subroutine Sana, which is where the story is set, then yes, ask away, and it's probably going to help me out if I know, because I probably have the same questions. I don't have time to ask all the questions, so you got to ask some questions. Come on. We got a couple people watching. That's great. Let me see here. What should I do? I am going to AMA. Ask me being Prax, so ask him anything. Let me double check here, just make sure everything is running properly on the different channels. There we go. That looks good. We've got myself up. Your ears are ready for me, says Prax. My ears are ready for me, says Prax. Okay, that's looking good. For the first time, I'm actually streaming to my Sound Booth Theater Live and my own page, which is the first time that I've used that page in maybe 3 years, the Justin Thomas James page. So that's pretty fun. All right. Well, we had a really, really great day yesterday for part 2. We got through almost an hour of completed audio, which is fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the script and pull up the audio file. Let's see. Should have done that before, but I was kind of scrambling this morning. My friend Rachel was over, and she is staying with us for a couple of days while her partner is away. And we had a nice chat this morning, all 3 of us sitting on the floor with our coffees and talking about social things, I guess. Racism and things, all that fun stuff that's we like to start our day with. All right, let me pull up this. There we go. And I'm going to pull up the stream, return to dashboard over here, pull up the chat on my tablet. Upcoming, past, upcoming, videos. Where am I? Oh, I'm logged into the wrong account. That's what's going on here. Doi. Bear with me. If you're listening to this on the Sound Booth Theater platform, I do apologize for my unorganizedness, but we'll get there. We will get there. You could probably fast forward just a little bit while I get myself together. We got Thumper Thumb. We want Justin T. James. I think that's the one. Try logging in. That's what I want to do. And I got to get my code. All right, I got a code that allows me to log in. So let's look at this code. All right. 053. And logging in. Made it. There we go. Enter studio. And now I'm able to see the chat regularly. For this whole time, entering studio and should be muted there. That is perfect. Crossing streams here says Prax. Meat slab thighs! Razor Casket is back. Welcome back, Razor Casket. Razor Casket and his meat slab thighs. Always good to see you. To hear your voice, Razor Slab. We got a new joiner. Welcome. Thank you for signing in. If you're watching on Facebook, you're going to appear as Facebook user. So there's this great element of mystery when a Facebook user says hello. It's difficult to tell who is actually that person. It's impossible to tell unless they share their names. So if you are on Facebook, there is a way to get around that so that you can actually show your name. And that's by going to streamyard.com/Facebook. And then you can change your settings so that you're visible. Glad to be here as always, says Razor Casket. All right, well, let's open up the Irrelevant Jack 6 audiobook script. And I fixed the audio issues that I was having yesterday, so that felt good. And let me just double check and listen. Prax says, I'm both in YouTube and in here. Yeah, so it's good to, sometimes if you want to double up, you might as well. Double up. Oh, that might be Prax. It might be that Prax is two of the viewers that I'm seeing here. Just kind of beef up the audience. All right, let's expand these tracks out a little bit. There we go. That should be good. And let me listen back. Oh, it sounds so much better. All right, I'm going to do a little test recording, make sure my gain is set correctly. Here's chapter 3. Chapter 3. Greenja, Thurson, Aaron, and even the light night roar had a hand in developing the croaking abomination Jack was currently hanging onto. And he was certain that the Sana Nautica was going to fly herself apart any moment. Oh no, the issues are back. Let me see. All right, let me just double check some stuff here. Don't mind me, I'm going to play some... I guess I can't play some music right now because I got to listen, but no bother. 1 minute. Testing. Okay. Well, that might be a bit better. Let me hear it. Greenja, Thurson, Aaron, and even the light night roar had a hand in developing the croaking abomination Jack was currently hanging onto. So it's a bit quiet. All right, we've got a little bit of a grounding sound, but it is a bit better than it was, so let me hear this. Greenja, Tharson, Aaron, and even the light night roar had a hand in developing the creaking abomination Jack was currently hanging on to. Blah! Blah! Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Okay. All right. Are you able to hear me? Definitely still some electronic sound, unfortunately. Ugh, that's so frustrating. Makes me so mad. I need to get the stuff that Ahmed recommended. There's something called a ground lifter. Essentially, because I live in an old Toronto home, the wiring is kind of messed up. I know you don't hear it, but you'd be able to hear it in the recording. So what I'm going to do is save this as a new set, and we're going to call this 01.5. Chapter 3 maybe. And save that. I gotta turn my phone off. Hello, Ian. Welcome. Yeah, it's just like a little bit of static from my preamp. So yeah, there's like some software that I can pick up for that, or hardware rather. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Recording. Oof. It's so bad. It's always bad when I try to start narrating. Let me try. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not my microphone, for sure. It's definitely the preamp. Ugh. Alive and hearing. Well, good. I'm glad you are alive, and I'm glad that you are hearing as well. For whatever reason, it's so much more noticeable in the actual recording. Recording, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and start recording. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Irrelevant Jack. Blah! Blah! Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bah! Got to get this gain level right. Working on my gains. Hello, testing. Chapter 3. Greenja, Tharson, Aaron, and even the Light Night Roar had a hand in developing a creaking abomination. Well, it's gonna have to do. 20 minutes in and haven't gotten a single lick of narration done. I've really got to sit down and figure this bullshit out, but here we go. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Is everybody still able to hear me? Am I still coming through? Are you hearing all my phone notifications? Oh, God. Part 3, train wreck. Don't lick your narration. May spread germs. All right, I need to figure out how to just open up the Facebook feed as well. Oh, let's close that. Maybe. Oh, here we go. That's the one. And there we go. And let's see here. How do I do this? Aha, there we go. Ian Mitchell, D. McClanahan, welcome. I will lick all the narrations. Part 3, Justin's phone notifications. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Chapter 3. Greenja, Tharson, Aaron, and even the Light Night Roar had a hand in developing the creaking abomination Jack was currently hanging on to, and he was certain that the Subnautica... Whoops. That's not what it says. And he was certain that the Sananautica was going... and he was certain that the Sana Nautica was going to fly herself apart any moment. He felt a flash of prideful responsibility for insisting they all wear some type of life jacket for this high-risk move securing the western edge of the map. All right, it's looking okay. So, now I can keep going. They could have waited until they had something tried and true, at least given him more time to learn how to sail their royal hydrofoil right. But with new and smarter demons, it was entirely possible they'd both lose this potential opportunity and gain a true sea-based foe right in the middle of their own shipping lane. Jack's jaw jarred shut again, and he saw Haylee slip one full leg into the sea as they came down hard after leaping over another rolling wave. With frustration building, Jack let the other heroes behind him worry about themselves as he focused on balancing the controls. Thick bundles of tower-dropped spears on fulcrums jutted out of the vessel on each side like wings, each strapped with 5 shields. They were meant to catch the outer map current and pull them forward while angling the craft left or right. Yet the makeshift ship lurched over the turbulent sea's surface with a single-minded sprint. He was about to pull both rows of shields and go with just the silk sail again, but the problem was that no one built any other way to steer. He had a strong intuition that if he tried to pull out the shields while in this violent current, they would spin out of control and either capsize or be swept out into whatever happened at the edge of the map. Neither of these things was what he wanted right now. With his fists clenching onto the spear. Neither of these things was what he wanted right now. With his fists clenching onto the spear shaft controls, Jack braced against another swell of seawater that drenched all of them with countless gallons of salty weight. They shot to the surface. Blah! I'm hearing the garbage truck is going by. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Damn garbage truck. Who needs garbage taken out right now? I'm just going to try one quick thing. This is not great for your mic. I don't recommend this. All right. Sometimes my microphone is a little bit testy. Blah, blah, blah. I got some water in me. They shot to the surface and landed hard again as the vessel of mostly indestructible items threw itself forward. If only they weren't going so damn fast. Jack let one gloved hand go of the The background noise of the virtual world, Prax asks. Yeah, pretty much. This is, yeah. Does anybody want garbage truck ambience in the background of your audiobook? No? No one? Just me? Justin's bloviation is getting all over his narration germs, says D. Yeah, I love to bloviate. You know me. You know me. The garbage truck. Can you hear the garbage truck? Do you hear it? Listen. Listen. Oh, it stopped just as I was saying listen. Garbage trucks on the ocean is normal. Oh, is this another? Oh, okay. No, that's D. Okay. Uh-huh. There we go. You don't hear that. Okay. What is this? What is this? What JTJ chat? Do. I'll just wait for this garbage truck to go by. It's one of those days, you know. Us narrators, we got to deal with stuff like this. We got to be patient as we wait for the garbage truck to roll on by. We got to be patient while we figure out our fucking sound equipment. Randomly, some electronic sound is introduced to my mix, and I don't like it one bit. So I'm going to go take a... Never mind, I'll finish that. This is starting to sound like erotica, this story. Pure garbage! Ahmed Mahmoud is here! Ahmed Mahmoud? I'm so sorry. That's not his name. Ahmed Mahmoud has arrived. Welcome, Ahmed. Thank you for joining, of course. Ahmed is our lead engineer here at Sound Booth Theater. An excellent, excellent musician, sound designer, engineer, and person. And he has graced us with his presence. No, you know, my phone is not near the PC, but, you know, that's a good question. I'm going to move my phone, get my phone out of here. It's in the booth with me. So I'm just going to put it behind a pillow. Here we go. Who knows? Maybe that'll help. Yeah, we had 20 minutes of... I thought I had the sound set up, but I guess that's the thing with grounding issues. Like, you can kind of fix it one day, and then the next day, if the grounding in the building is more charged or less charged, then it's going to affect the sound. So I just got to get those lifters is what I'm picking up. Here we go. Oh my God, nope, garbage truck is still there. It's still there, the garbage truck! When I'm angry, I turn into Arnold. Stop it. Stop picking up garbage. I don't even have any garbage. No, that's not true. I had lots of garbage. I had to be sneaky. And to take extra garbage bags and put them in my neighbor's garbage. I know I'm a terrible human. That's technically dumping. Except I know my neighbors, they're very nice. They probably wouldn't give me a hard time. Plus, I'll just buy them a beer, and they'll be okay. They'll be fine. They'll say, "Oh, Justin, thank you for the beer. Why are you getting me this?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, no, you don't. I just like my neighbors. I just sound like Ernie now, huh? I'm Ernie Schwarzenegger. The Arnold Schwarzenegger Muppet. Tracking down ground problems are the bane of existence. You know, D, I'm sure you struggle with this. Everybody here struggles with it, I'm sure. So, yeah, it's a highly universal issue. Jack let one gloved hand go of the controls and spun to point at the bulging pink silk sail. "Someone get that thing down!" he yelled into the wind. Oh, now I've got a... It's the garbage truck. Oh, garbage day, trying to narrate when it's garbage day is not fun. It's not fun at all. 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 It ain't fun. It ain't fun at all. But sometimes you gotta just put up with that bullshit. Bullshit. Now, they don't know they're doing anything wrong. I doubt there's garbage people who are like, oh, I would drive down this street, but there's a narrator that lives in one of those houses, and this truck is pretty loud, so I should be careful. Ahmed, is there anything you could recommend to the City of Toronto Waste Department for making their garbage trucks quieter? Maybe just like an incinerator that instead of picking up the garbage, they just open the lid and just fire a gun in there that just disintegrates everything, sends it to another dimension. Garbage truck workers make good money. They do over here too. As no one wants to do it. That's what's his name? Not Homes on Homes. The Dirty Jobs or whatever. Oh, Ahmed, I'm pretty sure the preamp is acting as an antenna. How would I counter that? So when I get a moment, Ahmed says, I'm curious. When you get a moment, take out the preamp again and verify it's not the preamp acting as an antenna. Fair enough. Yeah, Jersey City. Yeah, I guess you could do it for Jersey, but yeah. So how could I stop it being an antenna? That's the question. Like, is there like a place that I can plug it in differently? Because I do hear sometimes when I turn up my gain and my output all the way, I hear the radio. I hear people talking. Like, this is CHFI, blah, 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 blah. Daily streaming, eh? Charles Dean is back. Hello, Charles. I got around to the Facebook user issue. I can now see, I've got 2 screens up on my tablet, and now I can see your names. Charles Dean, of course, is the author of Heroic Villain and War Eternus and Death's Warlock, I believe, is the new one, narrated by the very talented Steve Campbell. I highly recommend you check out all of Charles's work. He's a fantastic author and also a great person. Let's see. Let us see what Ahmed has says. So Ahmed says, I'm going to read all Ahmed's comments in Yoda's voice. First step is verify it is the pre. If it is, we can try the ground lift. The ground loop is the antennae. Perfect. Yes, Bathrobe Night as well. Bathrobe Night is another series by Le Charles Ledeen. Leave all of this in the cold read. Oh, we don't edit any of the cold read. It is just a wild card. You never know what you're going to get. You get like an hour and a half. You're like, oh, that's going to be so much narration. When like, if it's like Monday, half of that was just bloviation. So can confirm. Prax confirms that Charles is a good person. Don't just take my word for it. Go hang out with him. Have a beer and a bacon with him. I know he likes bacon. He yelled into the wind, then went back to making sure they kept heading for the infinite line of stone a few miles still ahead of them. Ripping came from behind, and he risked another microsecond glance back to see. I should probably alert when I'm about to start narrating. It just comes out of nowhere. Ugh. Ripping came from behind, and he risked another microsecond glance back to see. His wife hack her sword through the sail as her short golden hair flapped wildly. The wing-clipped Santa Nautica began to slow its headlong dash over the waves, and Jack felt the lurching craft drag down into a smooth forward motion? and Jack felt the lurching craft drag down into a smooth forward motion that matched the water all around them. And Jack felt the lurching craft drag down into a smooth forward motion that matched the water around them. The treated logs that kept them afloat now all remained submerged, and the result was a more stable seagoing experience. After a deep breath, Jack felt the tension drain from his shaking legs. After a deep breath, Jack felt the tension drain from his shaking legs and dipped both sides of his steering shields as far down as they would go. "Better," Ori said with a firm hand. "Better, better," Ori said. Ori said with a firm hand on his shoulder, a massive grin on his face. Of all of them, the water-based hero was the most at ease at sea. All right, let me redo that line. "Better, better." There we go. With their vessel under control, Jack felt safe shooting him a return grin before checking on the others. Lex stood confidently, her strong legs in a wide stance on the item, decking and handling whatever madness came her way. Decking? Oh, let me try that again. Lex stood confidently, strong legs, wide stance on the item, decking and handling whatever madness. Oh, what does decking mean? Like punching? "I'm gonna deck whatever comes my way." I'm pretty sure that's what Prax means. Lex stood confidently, her strong legs in a wide stance on the item. Item decking. The item decking. Lex stood... the decking is the deck of a ship. Got it. Lex stood confidently, her strong legs in a wide stance on the item decking. The item decking. Lex stood confidently, her strong legs in a wide stance on the item decking and handling whatever madness came her way. Haylee, on the other hand, looked miserable, like a cat who does not want the bath she is receiving. Like a cat who does not want the bath. Like a cat who does not want the bath she is receiving. Their floating pile of junk now handled like a dream as he raised and lowered the steering shields. They were his claws, and he was using them to grip the force of nature surging below. Instead of leaping over the waves, they were now more or less in sync with the flow, and after 10 more minutes of practice, Jack felt confident they were closer than ever to safely testing what happened at the edge of his virtual world. Alt responded telepathically to Jack's map-based musings. "The craft certainly needs some refinement, but I want to remind you that this virtual universe is designed to create a never-ending procedurally generated body of water beyond the edge of the world map. It will be anticlimactic. King Jack sent back a ridiculously embellished fantasy image of impossible floating megacities all running on advanced magic and steam tech, with access to endless water and perpetual fire. "Yes," Alt said. "Anything is possible, given infinite time, but I was also..." "Yes. Anything is possible, given infinite time, but I was referring more to... But I was referring to more reasonably attainable benefits. Also, you are moving incredibly fast. Your planned maneuver may be more challenging than you imagined." Sure enough, the infinite stone structure came hurtling forward, but they were here. Jack turned to his crew. "Get into position!" Lex hopped up next to him to take the helm. Ori snatched up the chunky log anchor attached to a coil of rope, and Haylee simply continued clutching the cloth item netting woven. Into the hull. "She's feisty!" Jack yelled to his wife as he watched her initial struggle with the controls, but the shorter woman was stronger than she looked, and held. But the shorter woman was stronger than she looked, and held the Sana Nautica slightly left of the tiny dirt island ahead. After rubbing his hand on Lex's back, he shouted, "See you soon!" and then teleported the last 100 yards or so to their destination. The world snapped forward, and the first thing he noticed was that the door in this remote, unclaimed tower was different than any he'd seen before. Where every other entrance was constructed of ancient, weathered wood, this one was a shiny black material with embossed golden numbers that displayed 50. Jack quirked a brow. There was only one thing he could think that meant but left it. There was only one thing he could think that meant but left it for now. His eyes passed over the bone-dry basin of the stone foundation. His eyes passed over the bone-dry basin of the stone fountain and wooden steamer chest, finding both typical of a town and tower. Except there was no town here. He moved close to the coarse dirt edge and looked up to see his team way closer than he expected. With a few quick breaths to psych himself up, Jack leaned out as far as he dared for the impending toss. The wind was unforgivable way out at the map's edge, and the water raged by in a steady current, but there was so much of it that his mind flipped to believe it was the tiny island moving instead. Vertigo hit Jack as if he was on the far edge of a rapidly spinning disk, but he shook it off and locked his focus on Ori. The glacial warden's light brown eyes were huge with fear as the current swept him forward, and a terrible realization gripped Jack's heart. Their junk boat was too far away. Ori tossed the anchor anyway, and then all doubts over their new team member's competence melted away when he immediately used his jet ability to blast the log. It was as if the guy had a fire hose in his palm. Almost knocked off his feet by the impact, Jack caught the anchor against his chest with a wet thud, and then moved to wedge it between the input chest and fountain. He then pulled out the pre-planned tower drop harpoon and locked everything down. The rope between his legs snapped taut as the ship hit its leash, and he avoided a terrible loss of crotch-related HP. Oh, that's great. All right, Ian, thanks for swinging by. Ian is going back to work, it seems. Surprise narration isn't the worst kind of surprise. It could be surprise. TPS reports. Okay, all right, I got to look this up. 1 second. Test procedure specification. Oh, that's from Office Space. I haven't seen that movie in ages. Is that what you're referencing there, Charles? I really like... Okay, I got to redo this line. The rope between his legs snapped taut as the ship hit its leash, and he avoided a terrible loss of crotch-related HP with the help of enhanced movement speed. Jack turned to face his team. "Reel her in!" Lex raised and locked the steering shields out of the water. With the reduced drag, the rope stopped creaking? With the reduced drag, the rope stopped creaking, and those on the boat were able to pull it slowly without capsizing. The craft still twisted within the current, and on top of that, the island itself was about 4 feet above the highest wave, so hopping off without a teleport wasn't possible. They'd planned for this, and Haylee unrolled a pre-built cloth drop harness currently secured to their vessel. One by one, the team slipped it on before Jack hoisted the sodden heroes up from the churning sea as if he were hauling in a meaty catch. The 7-foot glacial warden was last, and Jack clasped his outreached hand with a wide grin as he helped the weighty man up onto the minuscule shore. "Fantastic thinking, Ori. Not how I was thinking we'd end up applying your water powers, but I think you and I are going to get along great. I admit, Ori began as he turned to take in this unique island. Pulling me across the world for some strange water power purpose had me thinking about the ways I could use them. This door, Haylee said, staring at it. It means we start at floor 50, right? Lex crossed her arms as she also studied the door. If so, let's hope Ori can enter. He'd be skipping hero levels, a possibility I'd never imagined. The dark prism spun on her. Yes, this could be abused if he can. Excuse me. Let's see if we can create a town first, Jack said as he took 2 steps toward the chest. Maybe get lucky and pop out a dock right away. He held out his hand to start the transfer of items, but a black lacquer window with thick gold inlay appeared instead. The initial floor of the tower must be cleared before spawning Zydron. Zydron? The initial floor of the tower must be cleared before spawning Zydron. How do you feel about Zydron as a pronunciation? Zydron. Zydron? Zydron. Or Zydron. Zydron. All right. Zydron. Save that to my pronunciation folder. There we go. Zydron. Perfect. The initial floor of the tower must be cleared before spawning Zydron. Zydron? Jack said out loud. Alt spoke in his mind. This is how they must have all started. An initial race to claim nodes after An initial race. This is how they must have all started. An initial race to claim nodes after executing the subroutine. And Jack, this unique tower has never been claimed. Dense, unusual data. I'll let you know if I turn up something useful, But from my side of things, these are unlike any tower, chest, and fountain in my records. Is that the name of the town? Lex asked from his side. Jack shrugged. Just kind of crouching a little bit to my mic. Gonna lift it up a bit. Not too much, though. Get some water. Hey, Jimmy! I will get comfy, thank you. Get comfy! Do it now! How you doing, Jimmy? Mike Crouch. Probably. Everyone try to access the input chest and see for yourself. The heroes around him all focused on the empty space in front of them as Jack approached the entrance. Alt says this place has never been claimed since the beginning of time, and that chest just told us what we need to do to claim it. If Ori can't come in, the three of us will probably exit immediately. Not going to even risk something so strange from what anybody knows without a full team. Internally, Jack felt an unusually loud part of himself second-guessing this whole thing. He turned to look at his wife and Bastion, their adopted dark prism, and an unknown actor from a place where some still felt slighted by this upstart king. His caution was louder than ever. But seeing the endless wonder and determination emanating from these virtual souls ready to conquer their world, there was no reason to call it quits just yet. "We good to go?" he said as he made sure they were all still locked in as part of his group. "Wait," Haylee said. "Ori should go first. This way we'll know if he must wait out here for 7 hours alone. Maybe then we decide not to go in at all." Me? He said, rubbing the short, dark curls on his chin as he stared at the golden 50. Jack instinctually searched for words of inspiration. But the young hero was apparently immune to stage fright and confidently approached the unique entrance. The structural stones to either side that made up the tower were cracked and crumbling, and in the worst shape he'd ever seen. With a glance up its infinite height, the fat-bottom clouds clumping up around the rich blue sky hinted at violent storms greeting them later. Hopefully they didn't all get swept out to sea by a squall on exit. A flash of blue light pulled his focus to the door. Their elf-eared glacial warden had vanished. "That answers that," Lex said as she stepped forward and joined him inside. Haylee cast her gray eyes toward him, twinkling with barely contained excitement as they reflected the morning sun. She collected herself, said, "See you both inside." And then Jack was standing alone under the strange sea tower. And then Jack was standing alone under the strange sea tower. "Mother Sana," he whispered under the endless crumbling stone. "Give us the opportunity to earn something epic in here, would you?" With that small prayer to the subroutine, Jack reached out and grasped the door to today's first floor. Jack reached out and grasped the door to today's first floor. There we go. Got a tower transition here. Oh, here we go. 1 second. Bear with me here, just grabbing something just so you can hear it. I think you should be able to hear it. Yep. Not yet. Oh, there we go. Maybe in here. There we go. Damn it. Existence became nothing but overloaded senses. Existence became nothing but overloaded senses for 2 heartbeats, and then Jack found himself lying on the ground, tucked into a ball, surrounded by almost total darkness. Sparks from live wires and other pulsing lights showed his team in similar positions as he twisted around to see what they'd gotten themselves into. He pushed himself up, only to hit his leather helm on some immovable metal overhang, then crawled out and got to his feet as everyone took in what appeared to be futuristic computer wreckage. The exit orb added some intermittent light as it pulsed softly. Oh, there goes my stomach. The exit orb added some intermittent light as it pulsed softly from its position wedged into the slanted metal floor. The exit orb added some intermittent light as it pulsed softly from its position wedged into the slanted metal floor, and the sound of some distant wailing alarm reached his ears. Haylee pointed to the multiple chairs in the cramped space. All right, so let me just make a note here for sound effects. Ambience. Intermittent electrical zaps. Shuttlecraft wreck noise. It's Beyonce? If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Aftermath. What's aftermath? Aftermath. PF? Oh, aftermath. The aftermath of a shuttle wreck. Yeah. Isn't that implied by wreck? It's the wreck. What a sound. A wreck. A wreck. What does a wreck sound like? Big Wreck? The 90s rock band? What do you do after math? Cry. Haylee pointed to the multiple chairs in the cramped space. Some kind of vehicle? Jack turned to examine the overhang the overhang he'd spawned under, and found what was undoubtedly the console for a cockpit. The front viewport was made of monitors instead of windows, and all of them glinted with spider-webbed cracks in the dim, wrecked interior. He nodded. I think it's maybe a space shuttle. A crash-landed one. There's a way out, Lex said from his right, and he watched her duck under some ripped-out plating. and hanging black tubes. A hissing to his left immediately pulled Jack's gaze as he exited the crumpled shuttle and turned to see that the vessel might have crashed into a much larger ship. Thick gray foam bubbled around the edges where the wreckage they'd started in, apparently burst through the wall. The stuff sparked with a mesmerizing internal fire and moved on its own to seal the breach. The strange stuff reminded him of the black snake fireworks he used to scar sidewalks with as a kid. Look, Haylee said, and Jack turned to take in the white cube of a room filled with smoke and the plasticky smell of an electrical fire. The dark prism stood by a thick glass window, and Jack wasn't terribly surprised to see a void of black when he stepped up behind her. Yup, he said with his hands on his hips. I think we're in space. Does that mean something important? Ori said, an aquamarine crystal staff in both hands. And am I really on floor 50? Jack felt Alt nearly bursting with pertinent information, so he answered Ori by activating Call Alt, while also snatching a peek at the Glacial Warden's equipped weapon. Jade Stormcaller, two-handed staff, value 215, floor 40. Damage 113, defense 200, hit chance plus 0.59, max HP plus 250, max mana plus 50, magic power plus 170, water abilities plus 25 damage. Call down the sky. Greetings, Aurabox, Alt said, and Jack closed the item's interface. I am Alt, a complex entity that lives beyond the border of Subroutine Sana. I have learned a lot about you through Jack's senses, and it is my honor to fight with you in this unique tower. His eyes danced over the blue jets of flame keeping the miniature spaceship afloat. Yes, the young man said with a small yet formal bow. I've heard you're capable of some wild feats. That I'm speaking with you at all is a wonder I shall never forget. Alt dipped his prow in response. Jack's attention lifted to Lex, returning from her search of the surroundings. She gave him a sharp nod that all was clear, and turned her focus toward rejoining the conversation as Alt began unloading what he'd learned. First things first. This tower indeed starts at floor 50 and will not allow heroes below level 45. and will not allow heroes below level 45. And will not allow heroes below level 45 to enter. The science vessel bristled its antennas towards Ori. The science vessel bristled its antennae toward Ori. You cool if I change that to antennae? All right. Not only will you jump from hero level 46 to 51 with this one floor, but you'll also obtain tier 3 upgrades to your abilities if we succeed. We still don't know what's in here, Jack said. Jack said, eyeing the red pulsating light coming from the only exit out of this metal room. That weird door outside could mean weird floors inside. Well, weirder than normal. Did we lose any conscious time bypassing floors 1 to 49? Haylee asked. Ah. A good question, Alt said, turning to face her. No. Unlike elevator Alt, my flop of a homemade function... Unlike elevator Alt, my flop of a homemade function... Unlike elevator Alt, my flop of a homemade function, this tower truly begins at floor 50. Lex gave everyone plus 15% max hit points for the day with her uplifting chorus, and then the group talked through more of what Alt could do in combat, starting with the always popular Party HUD. Jack HP 1.5 Jack HP 1.5 Jack HP 1,500 out of 1,500. MP 981 out of 981. Lex HP 1,800 out of 1,800. Haylee HP 989 out of 989. Aurabox HP 2,300 out of 2,300. Alt HP 604 out of 604. Coins 42,802. Current run value 0. Alt value 1. Alt value 172,236 out of 250,000. No wonder you've done such amazing things. No wonder you've done such amazing things, the Glacial Warden said, his eyes focused on the new information available. His eyes focused on the new information available at a glance. His eyes focused on the new information. His eyes focused on the new information available at a glance. His eyes focused on the new information available at a glance. Right, Jack said, facing the doorway out of wherever they were supposed to. Jack said, facing the doorway out of wherever they supposedly crash-landed. We did not get the whole day to work together as a team before getting to floor 50. The four of us are as in tune as possible, so, Ori, listen for orders and don't question them. We're going super slow. That trick you did with your jet and the log out there, that's the kind of thing I want from you all day. Smart use of your magic powers. Haylee nodded. It really was a fitting non-combat use of your ability. I was impressed. Spaceship Alt rotated to face the dark prism as Ori's face split with a beaming grin. Jack continued. Lex is in the lead because her shield zeroes out damage. Ori, stay one step behind to the right, and be ready to intercept any overflow damage threats. I'll hold middle and cover the full court with my speed, and the two ranged dealers hang back. Alt, you want I-Beam Sun or that new psychic mug for this unknown place? The mug, the spaceship said. We've practiced it enough for me to feel comfortable with the new form. The extra defense is worth the switch alone. Jack agreed and pulled up the menu that listed every single monster he'd ever damaged with his mining laser. He didn't need to do this. He didn't need to do this anymore. Jack could have snapped Alt to the ensorcelled warm drink. Jack could have snapped Alt to the ensorcelled warm drink, but it did his sanity and his memory good to glance at the ridiculously long list. But it did his sanity and his memory good to glance at the ridiculously long list every now and then. "We'd normally leave Alt in his natural state," Haylee said. Haylee said as her AI friend morphed from sci-fi spaceship to a 3-foot black ceramic mug. "For at least a first floor." Excuse me. Nope, I'm down to change it. Let me go back. Let me see. You know what? The proofer might catch that. The proofer will mark that, and then I'll make the change then. The hovering mug bobbed over to her, its brown liquid sloshing around but never spilling. A detailed face appeared in the mild steam above. Before warm drink Alt responded. "Truly, I've been so many things since I started as an intergalactic science vessel. After this time living through Jack and experiencing what I have, I now feel most comfortable in forms closer to humanoid, such as Jack's Time Walker android summon. A plus is that this mug allows more expression than the angry sun. The two-dimensional face made from steam swirled into an enormous smile. After a moment of non-verbal communication between them, both Haylee and the hovering mug turned and nodded to the party leader that they were ready. Jack signaled to his wife with a pair of downward arcing fingers, and she moved them out into whatever madness awaited ahead. The group left what Jack thought of as the shuttle bay into a cramped hallway with future tech panels and sequentially blinking red lights embedded in the walls near the ceiling. He felt a blossoming sense of recognition from Alt, but it was nothing worth mentioning at first. That was until they found themselves in a barren room with a single computer terminal sticking out of the center. A patch of humming luminescence pulsed under the terminal, emanating fading sparks of light like bubbles in a carbonated drink. There were 2 other hallways leaving this new room, and the red strips of light all ended at this central console. "This is a material energy transporter hub," Alt muttered as the party of 5 moved around the edge of the room. "They were innovative tech in my time and integrated into new constructions after I was built. A user need only stand in the center and gaze around them. Holographic icons should appear in a 360 sphere to indicate possible jump locations. Simply look at a destination and break contact with the ground to teleport in that direction instantly." As Jack listened, he got a good sense of the hollow, white plating under his boots. The place was mostly some type of sheet metal and sent out a dull, empty echo every time someone took a step. And oddly sterile, like a lab. "Do you recognize anything more specific about the rest of the layout?" he asked the AI linked to his head. "Are we someplace specific from your world?" The warm drink turned to face him. "No. Some technology and construction style appear familiar from my era. No. Some technology and construction style appear familiar from my era, but there is much that is not. However, most material energy hubs were built on space stations, as the burgeoning technology was far easier to manage if the anchor points were stationary relative to space-time. But there is much that is not. However, most material energy hubs were built on space stations, as the burgeoning technology was far easier to manage if the anchor points were stationary relative to space-time. Space station? Ori asked, an eyebrow raised. Haylee answered as she stepped toward the center of the room. Large structures built as outposts, or permanent towns so far up in the sky that they never fell. Lex moved with her. The red lights are converging here. If the tower is saying it wants us to utilize this hub device. The elf-eared glacial warden shook his head. How does any of this madness mean anything? I've only known taking hits from monsters and bosses. They pay attention, the dark prism said over her shoulder before stepping into the glowing threshold. I recommend entering one at a time, Alt said, and Lex froze near the edge of the blue aura currently underlighting Haylee in violent highlights. The young girl inhaled with delight as her wide eyes darted around at things only she could see. Oxygen farm, EMC generator, observation, pocket chamber? Oh, most are faded and are layered with the prohibitive red bar. Disabled jump anchors, Alt clarified. Haylee nodded, her focus locking on something above them. Then the only valid destination is the anchor labeled observation. Haylee, Jack said quietly, and her luminous eyes focused onto him. Let's talk about this first before hopping off through whatever that is. Yes, she said, taking a breath and composing herself. Of course. Standard sweeping procedure, Jack continued as he addressed the rest of the team. We searched the immediate area on foot. There are 2 ways out of this room, and I would feel much better if we knew this side of the teleport hub was a safe fallback area. Any thoughts? Questions? King Jack directed the last part at Ori. That I understand, he said, and moved into position near the closest exit from this cube-like room. He said, and moved into position near the closest exit from this cube? He said, and moved into position near the closest exit. He said, and moved into position near the closest exit from this cube-like room. There we go. All right. Well, that's the end of Chapter 3. How are we doing here on time? Done about an hour and 20 minutes, and 3. Let's see how long Chapter 3 is, why don't we? Or start Chapter 4, rather. There we go. Chapter 4 is, 4,176 words, roughly 25 minutes of audio. I just realized that Bloviated has been on display this entire time. How do I fix that? Oh no. Oh, there we go. Oh, my tablet is starting to get kind of wonky right now. It's getting kind of laggy. Anyways, I think I got rid of it there. Awesome. Great chapter. I'm really excited to see what they find here. All right, I'm going to just take some water in here, and then I'm going to keep going. Oh, I think there's maybe an update going on right now on my tablet. Oh, Windows, just updating whenever you want. I know there's probably a setting I can change, but who would do that? Who would do that when you can just complain about things all the time? Let me see here. SFX and music. Oh, nope. Set 3. Let's see. Relevant Jack 2 maybe? SFX. Finals. Here we go. Okay, I got something to play for you guys while I just take a little wee break. I'll be right back. Oh, apparently the music cuts. Okay, all right. Well, hold on. What is this? Add music. Let us go to, here we go. This should work. 1 second. Boop, 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 boop. Venter, Relevant Jack 2, SFX, Finals, and then, okay. So we got that uploading. And now I'm going to want to remove this. This might be the better way to do it. Here we go. Let's see if this works. Do you hear that? I don't hear it. Maybe you guys do. And you do hear. You hear the music. Okay, well, I don't hear it. Aha. Okay. All right. Good call, Ahmed. Ahmed made the great suggestion just to turn off the camera in StreamYard rather than removing me from the thing. So here we go. You guys have heard that song probably enough. Let me switch it over to, let's see what these SFX are. What's this? There we go. Let's see. Here's some ambience. I'm going to turn off my cam. Welcome to the Irrelevant Jack 6. Cold reads. I don't remember where this was. This is in book 2 somewhere. Sounds like we're in one of Prax's other books, actually. What does this button do? Yeah, we're still figuring it all out, but slowly but surely, I think we're getting kind of a handle on the whole StreamYard thing. Ahmed, at some point, I'm going to need your help getting set up on Twitch. Is it playing? Do you hear the ambience? Do you hear it? Do you still hear me? Oh, no sound. So I guess turning off the camera still does. Oh, you hear me? What? What's going on? You don't hear the ambience. Oh, pff. Okay, all right. Let's try this again. Do you hear that now? You hear that? All right, you hear that? Ah, good. Now I turn off my cam. And do you hear me now? You still hear me? What? There should be ambience. What the frick? Should be going through. Okay, well, I don't know why there's still no ambience, but everything should be going through voice meter correctly. I'll try closing one more. Oh, you hear it, Prax. Okay, good. I got it. We got it! We did it! Good, good. Excellent. Well, my tablet has just screwed the pooch. I don't know what's going on with it. I can read the chat, but I can't switch windows for some stupid reason, so yeah, it's just completely gonna have to reset that. But alas, let us continue. Alas, my lass, blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. All right. Let us continue. I shall remove the overlay so you can see my beautiful face. There we are. Oh, and hello. Hi! Hey! Hello! Oh, so nice to see you. And if you can't see me because you're listening on Sound Booth Theater, well, then you should come check these out when they're live. Get it even sooner. What the heck? Hell yeah. Chapter 4. Their shield-bearing bastion took point once more as the group moved deeper into what they believed was a uniquely complex space station. Both other openings from the teleporter hub connected to thin walls. Both other openings from the teleporter hub connected to thin halls shooting straight out before ending in identical cavernous spaces that were probably used as docking bays. Only the others didn't contain any smoking wreckage of a crashed ship. Only the others didn't contain any smoking wreckage of a crashed shuttle. The only illumination came from the red lights tracing a line back to the teleport console. The only sounds were his team's hollow footsteps and a distant, howling alarm. "An exposed artifact," Haylee called out as she knelt near the back of the second dead-end shuttle bay. Her cloth cloak blocked his view, but the dark prism turned and held up whatever she found as she approached the group near the middle of the echoing space. It appeared to be a rough marble cube affixed to a brassy metal base. A small trophy. Stone collectible. Artifact. Value 20,000. Floor 50. Jack raised a brow. Want to hold on to it for now?" The item vanished from her hand. "I believe I do." "Fantastic," he said as he motioned for them to head back the way they came. "Got ourselves a hidden treasure and made reasonably sure this area is safe. Time to check out that teleporter hub." "An interesting floor 50 so far," Lex said as she led the way back. "Odd and empty." "I have a good feeling about it," Haylee said. "This floor feels off, but I don't know. It's just a feeling." Alt hovered close to her side. "I know what you mean. My extra perception for the fabric of reality sees everything here as ornate, to put it one way. Dense." Lex stepped up to the device first, her golden eyes underlit as they bounced around, until she locked them on something beyond the white metal ceiling. She turned her focus back to her king for a few heartbeats, before glancing up and hopping into the air. What had to be a holographic projection of the bastion zipped. What had to be a holographic projection of the bastion zipped upward. What had to be a holographic projection of the bastion zipped upward, straight through the solid metal ceiling. And then she was gone. Jack took her place in the vivid blue energy percolating upward. From the patch on the floor, and augmented reality icons and text surrounded him that clustered. Jack took her place in the vivid blue energy percolating upward from the patch on the floor, and augmented reality icons and text surrounded. Jack took her place in the vivid blue energy percolating upward from the patch on the floor, and augmented reality icons and text surrounded him that clustered to the edges of his vision. And augmented reality icons and text surrounded him that clustered to the edges of his vision when not glanced at directly. He pinpointed the one above them labeled Observatory with a basic black bubble icon and leapt upward toward that point. Unlike his instant teleport, his technology took at least a full second, just long enough for someone to perceive themselves zipping through solid matter like a ghost. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he came to a stop in a new place right behind Lex, standing transfixed before a space anomaly gashed the size. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he came to a stop in a place right behind Lex, standing. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he came to a stop in a place right behind Lex, standing transfixed before a space anomaly gash the size of a planet. The observatory sat conveniently placed on the top. The observatory sat conveniently placed on top of the station and under an enormous glass dome. Jack spun in place and found no threats, but he also noticed there was no way out. Beyond the clear membrane of the dome, the space station's topside was mostly the same smooth white metal they'd seen on the inside. However, the bulk of the place was directly underneath their position, so it was tough to gauge its total size. Jack moved away from the teleport anchor as the others arrived and followed another red pattern of lights ending at one of 4 terminals positioned around the edge of the observatory. Now that he was focused on its display, he saw tiny red lettering on a black screen above a throbbing keypad. "Wild," Ori muttered, and Jack turned to see his whole team staring up into the impossible rip in space. Reality continuously curled apart, and its ever-unfurling insides swirled with glittering purple mutters that whispered through his eyes off an old, endless depth and breadth, manifesting. Okay. This, I feel like I've got to be high for this sentence. Reality continuously curled apart, and its ever-unfurling insides swirled with glittering purple mutters that whispered through the eyes. Reality continuously curled apart, and its ever-unfurling insides swirled with glittering purple mutters that whispered through his eyes of an old, endless depth and breadth, manifesting both existential horror and arresting beauty. Reality continuously curled apart, and its ever-unfurling insides swirled with glittering purple mutters that whispered through his eyes of an old, endless depth and breadth, manifesting both existential horror and arresting beauty. "There are no stars," Alt said. "We are not in space. Or if we are, it could be at the end of time, when all the energy has dispersed, faded through entropy." "Or they all fell into that hole," Lex said, her voice distant. She then pulled her eyes away from the dazzling cosmic rend and faced the dark prism by her side. "You're right. This floor, this unique tower feels different than all the others I've been inside. I've spent most of my life fighting through floors of monsters, and I don't know how to put it into words." Jack took a deep breath as a whiff of agoraphobia fluttered over his mind. If this transfixed dome cracked, they could tumble forever into that black void, or more likely, into that unknowable, star-munching maw that filled a quarter of their view. Blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. Or more likely, into that unknowable, star-munching maw that filled a quarter of the view. "Everyone," Alt said, and pulled the group's focus to the talking mug. "Through Jack's lungs, I can detect a downward trend in oxygen availability. You will all slowly feel more lightheaded, but the danger is not immediate. You should have several hours left before total asphyxiation." "A slow environmental trap?" Ori asked as he started taking deep breaths. "But I don't have a status icon." "Trust him," Haylee said. "It's possible Alt is merely giving us information we wouldn't normally have that predicts a negative status is impending. A status icon would likely trigger when we start taking suffocation damage, not before. I'll check our exit. Lex stepped her boots back onto the material energy transporter. She searched the interface icons around her. And said, "The way back is labeled Star Dock and shows traversable. Also, there is a new unrestricted option from here. Monument." All right, get some water. But also just check my Microsoft Teams. Okay. All right. Little bit of water. The Bastion then looked down where the Starduck had... The Starduck? What? The Bastion then looked down where the Stardock had to be, and hopped. Her body slid through the teleport anchor and was only gone for 3 seconds before she zipped back up, her boots landing confidently with a light thud. "We can move freely," she confirmed. "There are instructions," Haylee called out, and everyone turned to see both her and Alt had moved to the one working terminal where the red lights ended. "Whose instructions?" Ori said, as everyone else walked the 30 or so yards to the edge of the dome. A primitive electronic ticking, like physical circuits, came from inside the console that synced up with the pulsing red letters appearing one by one across the screen. "Press red 5 to shunt reserve battery to primary driver. Rain." R-A-I-N? 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 Which one do you prefer? R-A-I-N or rain, should I say, Prax? Yeah, okay. R-A-I-N. R-A-I-N. Jack glanced down to the colored buttons of the keypad to find rows for red, blue, and yellow. "Should I press the 5th red button?" Haylee asked, turning her gray eyes around the group. Jack shrugged. "We could go check that monument location first, but I think we should just press it. The indicator lights are indicating this station." "I say press it," Lex agreed. Ori held up his hands in an abstaining gesture, and Alt dipped his coffee mug, so the young hero touched the red button on the farthest. Right. An electronic burst of static flooded the dome before fading away, and a deep hum vibrated under their boots as if an enormous turbine had started up. Somewhere far below. Jack exchanged glances with his team as the strange structure settled back into hollow stillness. Then a deep, robotic dual voice came from everywhere, as if 2 text-to-speech programs triggered at once. "Okay, Ripwatch, rain." Okay, so I'm going to make a couple tracks for this. You said it's a dual-voiced. Do you want me to record this with Andrea? You said it's a male AI, or does it matter? Oh, wait, this is the one that switches back and forth. Right. So we're both going to be voicing this, I think, right? Yeah, both now but separate later. Okay, well, let's get this person a key. What should it be? That's 9. 6. Do I have 3 yet? We do have 3, but that's thought. We don't really use that for this, so let's do... Okay, and I'll leave a note for Andy. User, can you hear me? User. User. User, can you hear me? 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 We can hear you, Jack replied, equally loud up into the glass dome. There was another pause before the manufactured dual voice continued from every direction, but at normal volume. First responder heroes, it is fortunate all survived. The manual docking procedure. Star docks A to F are offline. Oxygen farm is offline. EMC generators are matter critical. Deep antenna is offline. Sub-reality knitting imperatives partially offline. Pocket library access is partially offline. Internal scan. Error. 100% of station personnel not found. External scan. Error. Universe not found. Direction. Continued survival has priority. Heroes. You will need to utilize pocket chamber bulge functionality to recover compounds for repairs, to restart the oxygen farm, and to find protein for sustenance. I need you alive and optimized if you are to restore my systems. Wow, Jack said, blinking as he... Jack said, blinking as he processed the stack of nonsense dumped on them. What is your name? Haylee asked. I am the regulating artificial intelligence network grown to entwine this research outpost. You may address this facility as Ripwatch Rain. My primary function is to autonomously regulate polyphasic reality tears encroaching from the multiverse phenomenon, which is perceivable from this observatory. Secondary function is targeting, locking, then bulging other dimensions through RIP phenomena into this facility's pocket chamber for study by station personnel. The disembodied, mostly inhuman voice stopped, and everyone exchanged glances again. And everyone exchanged glances again. "This is a complex first floor," Lex said, rubbing her chin. "Rain is an AI, similar to me," Alt said, and Jack felt the resonating kinship. "Rain is an AI, similar to me," Alt said, and Jack felt the resonating kinship. They even regulate science hardware to facilitate research. And, Jack added, his extra-dimensional anomaly of study also blew up in his face, apparently. I'm getting intense, what? Fractal nested game world deja vu? "I have no idea what's going on," Ori said, shaking his head. "Are we speaking with the floor?" Ripwatch Rain responded. "I am missing a lot of information as well, Glacial Warden. We share a common disadvantage. Perhaps if we work together, we can restore station functionality and learn more about the incident that caused this unfortunate situation." Jack's brows came down. This dual-voiced computer seemed to flip from simple-minded to conversational. Queen Lex put her hands on her hips and addressed the station AI. "Am I playing him right? Should I be that robotic, or should it be a bit more conversational? Or does that kind of work?" "Very well. Survival first. How do we craft air for us to breathe?" "An excellent question, Bastion. In addition to the personnel, many physical materials are also no longer found within my structure. My growth accelerators are empty, the energy converters are destabilized, and a mere handful of pre-catalogued multiverse." Uh-oh. And a mere handful of pre-catalogued multiverse targeting tablets survive whatever event caused this tragedy. We must utilize access to these remaining realities for emergency resources. Specifically, the data relating to Dimension 2099.zrb yet remains intact within its cradle. This data details cliffside ruins on the edge of a boreal forest, hosting trees biologically similar enough to jumpstart a sustainable life support loop. Local civilization is logged as extinct by station personnel. While you explore this dimensional bulge, you are tasked to retrieve at least 2 strange tree saplings. 2 strange tree saplings, 6 lengths of raw skitter meat, 8 iron-like ore chunks, and 1 sacred relic, the mandible of Lot. You will find it on a pedestal underground in catacombs built by an ancient religious sect that worshipped an equally extinct insect god. Ah, okay, gotcha. Prax says it's pretending to be an AI, so it slips into less robot sometimes. Haylee was grinning ear to ear. It's an extremely interesting floor 50. Indeed, Alt said. Jack moved back toward the teleporter. Rain, how do we get to this, what'd you call it? Dimensional bulge? Hero class, irrelevant. Party leader. With access shunt restored, I have reactivated the pocket chamber destination within the jump hub. Once there, find the control room up a short flight of stairs. Access my nearby material annihilation creation plane to retrieve the tablet from storage, then manually load the targeting tablet into drive bay, filling the chamber. The manifestation of dimensional pocket will become self-explanatory after that. Just call me Jack. Why do you need us to steal this sacred relic? Lex asked, the thinning air around them. There was a noticeable pause before the research facility named Ripwatch Rain responded. Bastion, hypothetical. You are lost and alone in a cold forest with no inventory, nor item in your main hand, nor item in off hand. Your flesh will crystallize, and your blood will become slush in your veins if you cannot find warmth. Then you happen upon an abandoned home. The roof has rotted away, the stone walls crumble. Among the rubble you find an ancient stack of dry, chopped firewood. An entity worked hard to create this pile of resources long ago. The wood is old. You're 100% certain that none have been near this home in the span of many generations. Is burning the prepared firewood to stave off a frozen status effect stealing. Hello, Blind Dude DC. Welcome. Lex's dark brows rose to the top of her head as she looked around the group. That is not stealing. Haylee jumped in, her eyes alight with interest. Correct. Rain's deep dual voice echoed through the dome. Trust me, heroes. I am designed to efficiently regulate and optimize. These are the resources I need to both maintain steady power and restore more station systems. Air, water, and food are important. But with no further steps, we will spend your lifespan in this strange unknown void outside of all reality. Do you wish to spend eternity nowhere? Ori shook his head. We're speaking with the tower. This whole day is such madness. This whole day is such madness, and we've only just begun. Right, Jack said, waving everyone over to the teleporter. We have only just begun, and it looks like we have a few conditions to meet for our artificial friend in need. Lex, Haylee, and Warm Drink Alt each took a turn zipping off from the jump hub. Then Ori sighed as he stepped up into the harsh blue light to go next. King Jack, I told you yesterday that I had enough skill to not act shocked by the strangeness you promised I'd see. I was incorrect. I do not possess this skill, but you were right about going with the waves. I can appreciate that advice now, and I'm once again ready to face whatever twists lie ahead. Blind Dude DC, have you listened or read Irrelevant Jack? Do you know what's going on here? What's your relationship to SBT? I think this is the first time I'm seeing you. The handsome glacial warden shot him a confident smile, then scanned the holographic waypoints before following the others to somewhere deep within the scientific. Then scanned the holographic waypoints before following the others to somewhere deep within the scientific outpost. Jack took a moment to gaze into the ever-expanding multiverse rip. Jack took a moment to gaze into the ever-expanding multiverse rip and contemplate the recursive situation he was in. This fictional AI was talking to the NPCs in ways they would understand. Inventories, main hand slots, calling each of them by their class names. What was going on in this weird tower? A grin split his face as he stepped onto the teleporter's area of effect, and the icons appeared in his vision. One mystery at a time, he said to himself, then leapt in place while keeping his focus locked on a solid black square labeled Pocket Chamber. Metal bulkheads and glimpses of futuristic components rushed past his face before landing on his boots on solid ground once more. This destination's anchor's landing zone was cramped compared to the expansive void before. This destination anchor's landing zone was cramped compared to the expansive void before, and he turned in place to see 2 flights of stairs on opposite sides leading up and out of a room only big enough for the teleporter device. His team was already moving up one set of stairs, and he followed them up into a larger area to find a glowing arch leading to a massive, well-lit room that didn't appear to have a floor. Pulsing energy crackled along the edges of this arch as they flowed in orderly patterns of rainbow colors that faded away as they moved. Turning around, Jack discovered an elevated, windowed room looking out at the huge, empty space. A control booth. Haylee shot him a half-smile before she dashed to the set of short stairs leading up to this booth with warm drink alt sloshing at her heels. Haylee shot him a half-smile before she dashed to the set of short stairs leading up to this booth with warm drink alt sloshing at her heels. "Oh my," Lex said as she inspected the techno-magic arch. Jack put his hand on his wife's back as he and Ori approached, and all 3 leaned out through the opening to survey the imposing empty space. "This must be the chamber," she said, her voice not even reaching a wall to echo back. Correct, Bastion," Ripwatch Rain replied from everywhere at once. "It is currently bereft of a dimensional bulge. Do not fall in." The ceiling wasn't as far away as the ground, yet still the whole thing was at least the size of 2 city blocks and around 60 stories tall. Every surface was still the same surgically sterile white metal, except a few places with clusters of advanced technology at symmetrical points, and all was somehow evenly lit with no specific light sources. The techno-magic arch was the only way in or out of the colossal empty chamber. Jack turned around to see Jack turned around to see Haylee and a possessed coffee mug through a large window standing in the control booth built directly above the tower. Oh, right on. Blind Dude DC says he likes the Irrelevant Jack series. It's pretty hilarious. I'm on Discord as Jedeth. Well, welcome, Jedeth. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. There we go. I'm almost done this chapter. Jack turned around to see Haylee and a possessed coffee mug through a large window standing in the control booth built directly above the teleport anchor they'd used to get there. He got a mental ping from Alt that they were investigating a console they'd found and left them to it as he, Lex, and Ori scouted the rest of this new location. The three didn't need to go far, as there wasn't much else at this location. The jump hub half a level down was the only way in. Or out, and both flights of stairs away from the lower level led up to the same vacant space around the control booth. One of those sets of stairs uselessly came out behind it. Lots of empty, sterile walking room. Still no monsters to fight. Still no monsters to fight. Only hollow footsteps and white metal. It took them about 30 seconds to stroll around the new location, and then they moved to rejoin the others up in the central control booth. The cramped space covered in buttons, switches, and black rubber-coated wiring the size of tree trunks. The cramped space was covered in buttons, switches, and black rubber-coated wiring the size of tree trunks. "It's like a storage chest," Haylee said, pointing at a thin panel with a luminous soft blue surface. Ripwatch Rain spoke again. You may place any found items within my digital hold, and they will be safe. Its maximum capacity is an impressive 99 spaces, so make sure to keep your inventory free for further resources. This is also where you will need to deposit required items salvaged from the multiverse." "Speaking of items," Ori said from his position tucked near the entrance. Over here is another artifact merely sitting out in the open for us to find. He reached behind a thick vertical wire and then returned to manifest a rusted metal cube on another brass stand. Iron collectible, artifact, value 20,000, floor 50. Floor 50. Another hidden collectible thing, Jack said. No way! One didn't mean anything by itself, but now two that look the same? Maybe we get something special if we find them all. Two 20,000 value artifacts. 2 20,000 value artifacts aren't enough for you? Ori asked, his tan eyes wide. With the other one Haylee found, that's 40,000 on the first floor of the day when... With the other one Haylee found, that's 40,000 on the first floor... With the other one Haylee found, that's 40,000 on the first floor of the day, and we haven't even had a fight yet. If this were any other day, we'd slap the boss and exit. Maybe this is finally a floor with no monsters, Haylee said with a shrug as she accepted the invisible trade from the glacial warden. Phew, Jack said with a puff of incredulity. We're looking for a piece of an old spider god and need to pick up some raw skitter meat on the way. If we don't fight something before we clear the floor, I'll eat this leather hat. Lex giggled. Oh, no, you won't, love. I can't imagine what eating an indestructible object would do to your insides. All right, last 4 pages. Here we go. Jack's thoughts reluctantly slid to a stop at the fact that no solid or liquid he swallowed ever actually left his insides. His royal advisor thankfully scattered those murky musings by producing a new object in her hand. It was a thin metal box with exposed sci-fi circuitry and looked like something meant to be hidden inside a computer, not handled. This was the only object within Rain's storage interface, she said as Jack attempted to pull up its info panel. Multiverse 2099.zrb tablet. Artifact. Value 0. Floor 50. Cliffs of the Ancient Arachnid. I've never seen a zero-value artifact, Lex said. Ripwatch Rain spoke once more. Insert the targeting tablet into the front-facing control deck and then press the large flashing button. I would perform this task if I could, but it was deemed that I should not. The dimensional hook must be initiated by station personnel. Pressing the button again will release the bulge, eject the targeting tablet, and instantly empty the chamber. Do not press the button while heroes are inside the chamber. Haylee turned the zero-value item over in her hands before focusing on a similarly sized opening in the console under the window that faced the massive... Haylee turned the zero-value item over in her hands before focusing on a similarly sized opening in the console under the window that faced the massive empty space ahead. With care, she gently pressed the multiverse targeting tablet into its receptacle, and an internal mechanism took over, pulling it in automatically the rest of the way. Once it was gone, a plate snapped shut over the hole, and a thick rectangular button in the middle of everything began to pulse with rich purple light. Hit it, Haylee, Jack commanded, and she didn't hesitate. All of space and time came to a stuttering halt, but the unpleasantness was brief. The absolute stillness of time flowed forward again when a set of holographic runes snapped into existence along the arch, accompanied by a single solid pop reverberating through his body and soul. Beyond the techno-magic arch now sat a world of patchy grass and moss-covered ruins. The station AI spoke again. Responder heroes. I have no sensory nor auditory hardware within the chamber and cannot communicate with you inside. You may come and go as you please through the ineffable barrier, yet no self-ambulatory life forms from the multiverse can cross. When you've acquired resources to deposit, do not fear multiple excursions until we have all we need from 2099 ZRB. Do not fear multiple excursions until we have all we need from 2099.ZRB. In fact, I suggest you locate the saplings and protein strands with haste, then return before proceeding further. As Ripwatch Rain spoke, Jack saw a creature on the other side that looked like a sheep waddle over in front of the arch. Mud and muck covered its voluminous light blue wool, and it was clear no one had sheared the poor thing in its lifetime. It looked right at them through the glowing doorway, then shook itself off and began munching the pointy brown vegetation that covered the ground. Then shook itself off and began munching the pointy brown vegetation that covered the ground. "Hold," Haylee said as she pushed She pushed past everyone. Wrong book, sorry. Haylee said as she pushed past everyone in the pocket chamber control booth to get out. Haylee said as she pushed past everyone in the pocket chamber control booth to get out. "Is this the real floor 50 through here?" "Incorrect, Dark Prism. Incorrect, Dark Prism." The station AI. The station AI responded. "That is a bubble. That is a bubble of reality hooked and pulled into this one. A dimensional bulge from a habitable world outside of this universe. Correction, outside of this anti-universe conundrum we find ourselves currently trapped within. Ripwatch Station has approximately 3 hours and 27 minutes of oxygen remaining." More like 13 hours," Alt whispered into Jack's skull. This section will run out sooner, but the observatory dome and the star dock where we started held plenty. If it were me administering this space station, I would have certainly orchestrated vent sealants to aggregate breathable... If it were me administering this space station, I would have certainly orchestrated vent sealants to aggregate breathable... Never mind. I just hope this fascinating AI cannot hear us if we go in there. I would like to discuss this situation with the others. Hey, Sarah King is here. Sarah King is the author of Alaskan Fire, the Vampire Chronicles of a Vampire Queen. That's the one. Samurai King? Also, Legend of Zero. And you can find her work. Some of it's on Audible, and you can find ebooks available on Amazon.com. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's see. I would like to discuss this situation with the others. Jack sent back a silent agreement as the whole group moved out. Jack sent back a silent agreement as the whole group moved down out of the raised booth and approached the doorway into a virtual universe, within a virtual tower floor, within a virtual world. The sheep thing munching alien grass lifted its head at their approach, bleated once, and then dashed to the right. Jack lost sight of it until they stepped right up to the arch. The white walls and ceiling of the chamber were still there, but now there was a section of another reality resting inside. The stony black dirt came right up to the metal of the arch, and then transitioned up into an inclined patchy field that ended in weather-worn remains of what was probably a... that ended in weather-worn remains of what was probably a lighthouse. To the left of the vine-covered tower was a graveyard and a squat stone building with a rusting iron fence around it. Left of the arch stood patches of a rotting wheat field and an abandoned primitive farmhouse, and to the right was that same sheep, now grazing close to the start of a forest cut short by the corner of the chamber, with sterile white walls visible through the handful of 10-foot-tall, pure black pine trees. Pure black pine trees. It's a room set like a play, Ori said from the side. A stage made to look like a section of somewhere else. With a deep breath, Jack signaled for Lex to lead the team past the threshold and into what they'd been told was a chunk brought here, from another world. All right. Good stuff. Well, we started off rocky, but we ended up getting a lot done today. Let me see here. We are more than halfway, and 4. So far, we've narrated, looks like about a quarter of the book. All right, we've done about 18,000 words. Fuck yeah. We got about maybe another 10,000 left in this set, and then we're all done. So tomorrow I will be back narrating again. This time I'm going to be working in the morning because Sir Jeff will be taking over at 11, I think, 11 EST. So I'll be narrating from 9:30-ish to 11, so a half-hour stream, hopefully. Thank you all for joining. Prax, thanks for being here. Sarah King, Charles Dean, everybody who signed in, thank you very much. As you know, this is going to be available on the Sound Booth Theater platform. If you're listening on the Sound Booth Theater platform, thank you. Thanks for checking it out. And the audiobook is well in production by the time you're listening to this, so you should have it pretty soon. Thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Until then, bye to the BYE. Bye-bye.